What's the deal with the Morton County Now, that's a loaded question.
There's
actually a Facebook group where people are, it's an advocacy group where people are, based on like the limited research, like the shit I've sent you and like the things that what in your opinion is the deal with the hospital, and why is it such a sore for everybody?
First of all, I'm sure it all boils down to money. Okay. And the answer is I don't know, and I wish I did know. There's obviously a couple of different schools of opinion as far as what's going on, but here's what I do know.
Yeah.
Rural hospitals are, okay, you know how they put an animal on the endangered species list when it gets down to a certain number? Rural hospitals are kind of an endangered species. And unfortunately, it seems like every new piece of federal legislation makes it worse instead of better. The Affordable Care Act, which you would think would have helped, a lot of people, because it was called the Affordable Care Act, right? It has done some real damage to rural hospitals. Mm-hmm. And so have a lot of other bits of legislation. And that's one of those things I know we've talked about on the show over the years, how every piece of legislation has unintended consequences. Well, nobody really thinks about rural parts of the country when they start crafting legislation. And so the rural parts of the country often get the shaft when it comes to legislation. And so that's part of what's going on. But the other thing that it seems to be going on, and I don't know why, okay, and I'm not going to pretend like I know why, and I'm not going to start slamming people because of it, because I don't know what's going on. But we have had a horrible time attracting and retaining doctors in recent years. And I don't know why that is. I'm not going to start pointing fingers or anything like that. But I do know this. If you have a hospital and you don't have doctors to send patients to that hospital, you're not going to have a hospital for very long. Okay. And I'm going to throw out an example from my own hometown. And this wouldn't be an example of a place that lost their hospital, but the only reason why Hugoton didn't lose its hospital in the probably late 80s and much of the 90s, even into the early 2000s, is because they had one of the highest tax bases in the state. If it hadn't been for that, they probably would have. They had an absolutely beautiful hospital that for years and years sat there empty, day after day, because they had no doctors who sent their patients there. They had no doctors in Hugoton. They brought some doctors over from Liberal. Of course, those doctors sent their patients to Liberal when they were sending patients to a hospital. And, that has changed at Hugoton. They found ways to change that. And they found other programs, and they do some surgeries there, especially relatively light surgeries, colonoscopies, endoscopies, that kind of thing. But, they've found some ways of turning that around. We, I think, are trying to find some ways of turning it around, getting approved as an acute care hospital. Is that what the latest designation was? That it should be a step in the right direction. But if we can't attract and retain doctors, we're going to be in trouble, I think, personally. And I don't know why we're having so much trouble. I do know to a certain extent why we have trouble attracting doctors, for the same reason we have trouble attracting teachers and attracting other people here. And that is that Elkhart's kind of the end of the earth. I get that. Okay. But what I really don't understand is when we do attract doctors out here, why we have so much trouble retaining.
In this group, somebody said Dr. Pitman could return if asked full time. She lives in Morton County.
Yeah, she lives out at B. Riley's old place, I think.
And then somebody said, I believe her salary was less than $250,000 per year. And then Pitman actually chimed in. She says, my base salary is $250 plus another $45. That included 6 days of call and backing up the mid-levels, and I was too expensive.
By the way, when I say Dr. Pitman lives out at B. Riley's old place, I'm not trying to give away where she lives or anything. She operates a business out there, okay? Yeah. I'm not giving away confidential information, okay? Yeah.
If you go to 555 now, is that girl that graduated a few years ahead of me in Elkhart?
No.
Okay, no, I thought, never mind. I don't know who that was. And then it says somebody asked if the former administrator was being paid as a private consultant. So I guess
I have no idea about any of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. But I guess my question is, so like, this is the last thing I'll ask you. I've kind of did a little bit of digging, and if you go to their webpage, they have not posted any they used to post the notes from their meetings. Right. They haven't posted any notes since like 2023 March maybe. And a lot of people are complaining that they're only doing meetings at noon, like on days when people are working in school. So to me,
right, they do all their meetings at noon. Yeah.
So that is a little funky. But my question is this: like, they've been having a lot of executive meetings where, and Samantha Scott
executive sessions,
that those are just for like stuff that the public does. But to me, like,
all right, so
who owns the hospital and who gets to be an executive when who's footing the bill of all the decisions that are made in that executive session?
Okay, well, the taxpayers foot the bill and everything. Okay,
so I feel like they're all executives.
But, whoa, stop. Let me explain to you what an executive session is. Okay, you have to, when it comes to employment, you have to protect the confidentiality of the employee. Yeah. And that's the purpose of an executive session, is so that discussions about an employee and what's going on with them are confidential. Okay, now, do boards sometimes hide behind that, whether it's school boards or hospital boards? Or yeah, they absolutely do. But I'm not saying that that's what's going on here. Okay. But yeah, boards sometimes absolutely do hide behind the idea of an executive session and protecting the confidentiality of employees. And I get that it's frustrating that we don't know what's going on. And yeah, I would encourage them to, and now here's the problem though. Okay. We start talking about publishing their minutes, and, we don't have a local, well, I guess we do have a local newspaper. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But my point is, there aren't necessarily as many outlets to publish minutes as people might think. I suppose what would probably be the way to do it anymore would be to put them on a website or a Facebook page or something.
Well, a lot of people message me often and say, what would it take for you to set a camera and a microphone up at any of these meetings that are happening that are, and I guess if it was an executive, it could be.
Yeah, it's covered by the Open Meetings Act. Yeah, so yeah, you have the right to do that. Yeah. And obviously you can't do it when they go into executive session, but they're going to clear the room when they go into executive session, or they are going to physically move to another room, one or the other.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think the main thing is like, and that's why I put that at the bottom screen. What's the deal? Because I just know people are upset. I know we don't have a doctor. I know we've lost a lot of people.
Well, we actually have 2 new doctors. I don't know much about them.
They're in-house. Like
that's what I'm saying. I honestly don't know. I don't know if they're here every day. I don't know any of that.
Yeah.
And that's something we need to look into and find out so that we're given factual information.
Yeah. And like, I feel like, and again, if the executive thing, obviously we don't need to dox anybody's personal information. But I feel like, and again, I don't even know if this is a true statement, but I feel like if the hospital is so far in the red, as much as I hear it is, I feel like you kind of, like, not posting your notes for a year and a half is, you can't do that. Like,
well, it certainly opens up to a lot of accusations.
If things are going well, people aren't going to care what's being said. But like when and again, I don't even know if we're in the red or what the actual, I know people are upset. I feel like at this point, lack of transparency is going to do nothing but breed more contention for anybody involved,
Yeah, I can see that. And that's the thing is, I mean, certainly not publishing your minutes is going to, that's going to allow people to say whatever they want. And, I think you'd probably be better off with a lot more transparency. But
yeah, I think people deserve to know like what's going on.
Okay.
But they haven't been updated. Okay, I guess Stephanie says they updated some June 24 minutes. So that's something for people to check out.
There we go.
But yeah, so if anybody can call me on my cellular telephone and explain to me who to be mad at, I'll do it. But I just know it's like a crappy situation, but I have failed to been pointing like saying like, hey, that there's like 3 people in a room laughing and rubbing their hands together counting money. I haven't been pointed to a room of people running away to the bank. So I don't know who to be mad at. I'm just kind of worried about my town as far as people needing to go to a doctor.
I get that. And then, like I said, though, I'm not certainly going to start pointing fingers and and things like that, you know. So yeah, it's just one of those things we need to kind of find out the facts before we start talking too much about it, which, by the way, is good advice to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, before you start running your mouth, no matter what we're talking about, find out the facts first.
Yeah.
If we would all do that, the world would be a whole lot better place.
Now, I do have some juicy information. I don't know if it's a fact, but I'm going to say it. I hear that police officer Mark Espinoza puts ketchup on his steak, which
I'm pretty sure that's true.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's true. And he likes it well done.
It's embarrassing, and I'm just going to say that. I mean, I don't know if it's true.